The right release strategy and how you promote your music is absolutely crucial to get good traction on your music. The problem is I see many artists that are using the right release strategy for somebody else, and therefore the wrong release strategy for them as artists, because the way they are trying to release music might work for some artists, but it doesn't work for them and the way they have set up. So for example, if you look at artists like Nick D, is a very good example. Nick D releases songs every 2 weeks and has done for a number of years. He has a very specific routine, and therefore he doesn't start promoting until usually he has released a song, and that's where it goes around every 2 weeks. Now we work with some labels that start promoting songs 3 or even 4 weeks before they've been dropped, and then we've got to keep promoting them. So is there a right or a wrong way? Yes, but it depends on you, and it depends on these 3 key factors, which is number 1, how much music have you got to release? Number 2, what are the costs of your production when you are releasing a song? And number 3, what is your overarching goal? What are you trying to achieve? As we build this up, having the right release strategy to fit in to the right goal is absolutely crucial. So today I would like to take you through how I would design your release strategy, not anyone else's, because it needs to be specific to you, answering the right questions and then defining what you are trying to achieve and how you are releasing music in order to get the most bang for your buck. So let's take an artist like Nick D, for example. Now, many artists in this space love Nick D, as do I. I think Nick D is an absolute legend when it comes to how routine he is. And I get so many questions and comments saying, I'm going to do the Nick D release strategy. And I'm like, I love the Nick D release strategy, but is it right for you? And I would say it's probably not right for 80% of artists. Now let's look into why. So Nick D releases every 2 weeks, every 14 days. Now anyone who's saying it's anxiety-ridden hell to make content creation every week, imagine if you've got to release a song every 2 weeks. So you're doing maybe 30 tracks every single year over a space of 4, 5, or 6 years. Now that's a routine, and that's some serious anxiety. But here's the thing. What happens if you aren't able to make that many songs? What happens if you say, well, I've got 6 songs. Okay, 6 songs every 2 weeks, right? That's 12 weeks. So we go, that's 3 months. What are you going to do for the other 9 months? Are you able to go and make another 23, 24 songs? If the answer is no, it's probably not going to work. Also, and I don't want to do Nick any disservice, but I would suggest probably when he was starting out, maybe not now, he was probably, from a production cost, he was probably making songs, I'm guessing, someone please tell me if I'm wrong, for probably $300, $400, $500, maybe less, maybe a bit more. So let's say, for argument's sake, it's $500 a track, and you make 30 tracks. Well, in which case, you're spending about, what, $15,000 over a year to have all of these tracks? Now, I live in Nashville, and with the Nashville players and the Nashville studios and the Nashville producers, a lot of the time when I'm working with a label, they might spend $8,000 on one track. So if you're going to go and make 10 tracks, that's $80,000. If you're making 30 tracks, you're looking at what, 300 grand? Like, no artist who is a DIY artist is going to be able to spend, $300, $400, $500,000 on just producing tracks. So therefore, the idea of promoting these every 2 weeks, it kind of falls down. Building a library of songs into a streaming revenue is a very clever thing to do, but a very difficult thing to do. If you look at Nick is a bona fide business person. He is entrepreneurial, but he's also creative, and he's a bona fide artist. It's very difficult to have both of those skills. So when someone does comment and say it's the Nick D strategy, in my head I'm like, okay, this is a tough strategy, and I can't imagine the burnout someone gets from not only the socials and the promoting, but the writing, the arranging, the producing, the mixing, the mastering, and getting stuff out on a 2-week basis. But it works very, very well for Nick. So what this means is, if you can write 50 songs in order to whittle it down to 25, it's a good strategy for you. If you're paying $5,000 for a track, it probably isn't the right strategy for you. So this is why we need to have the right strategy depending on your circumstances and on what's right for you. Hey gang, we're going back to the video in just a minute, but I wanted to tell you about DK Music Business Academy. This is a platform that I have created for artists that are serious about their music. There are over 100 hours worth of lessons, and with every course comes a workbook, checklist, templates, tips, tricks, and strategies that myself and my team use every single day when helping artists and labels from around the world. And not only that, but there's a lot more detail involved in the courses than I have in other social media platforms. In reality, if I go into too much detail in a YouTube video, it does damage retention because most people just don't have that much time or attention to detail. So if you're struggling to get the attention on your music that it deserves, just think how powerful this could be for your music and your music career. And at the price of just one Big Mac burger per week, you'll get access to all of my tools, my techniques, my strategies that myself and my team use, as well as access to myself and my team in the community. So don't struggle on your own, get the help that you need to get your music heard. There's a link in the description, and I look forward to seeing you in DK Music Business Academy. If you're releasing music every 2 weeks, then that is all about routine. And you have to be ahead of the game because you might get ill, something might happen, you might be away, and you can't get to the end of the 2 weeks and go, I haven't got anything for this week. So you're probably going to have to be 3, 4, 5 songs in advance. So that is not just a level of anxiety, but that's a level of routine that you need, which is taking away from some of the promotional anxiety and stresses that you have if you release every 4, 5, or 6 weeks. Now, as we start to lengthen the strategy, let's say, for example, we are promoting every 4, 5, or 6 weeks, we have more time. So there's less stress on writing and recording music. But there's now more pressure on the promoting of music. When you're promoting music every 2 weeks, the social media promotion and the hooks are probably going to write themselves because you've only got 2 weeks. You're probably going to do 4 or 5 posts on the new track. You're probably going to do a couple of other posts on different things, and then you're on to the next song. And also, the hooks will write themselves. If you're writing hooks that say, hey, I just wrote this, let me know what you think. Hey, I just did this today, let me know if I should release it. Now that works very, very well on platforms like TikTok, Instagram Reels, because it's new. And make no bones about it. Things that are real, they make a difference. If you are saying this is not real, this has already been released a couple of weeks back, you are losing that impact. Nothing moves the needle more than a song that hasn't been released. After all, human nature says you want what you can't have. And if you can't have it, you say, I want it, I want it. If you just say, it's been out on Spotify for 3 weeks, we go, great, okay, cool, I know it's there, I can get it whenever I need it. That's just the psychology nature of what we are trying to do. Now, if you're releasing every 2 weeks, you haven't got time. It's another one, another one, another one. It's a great strategy and it's easier to promote, but much harder to make the music. Now, one thing that's really, really interesting with this is if you start stretching it out, now it becomes harder to do the promotion because you've got to talk about something for longer. And nobody wants to have the same song rammed down their throat day in, day out for 4, 5, or 6 weeks. So this is where we take that information and we design the strategy. Number one, what is it you are trying to achieve? If you are Nick D or in the likes of Nick D and you are trying to build a library and it's easy for you to make lots of songs at a relatively low-end price of production, then I'm like, that's a great way of building streaming revenue because every time you say, here's another one, another one, another one, you are doing episodic content, which means people are more likely to hit the follow button on Spotify because they know they don't want to miss out on something, that fear of missing out, and they're more likely to keep coming back. But it's very difficult to do. Now, if like most artists, you can't put out that much music for various different reasons, then at which point we need to design the strategy around what you can do. Now, if you said, I have 3 songs, then I'm thinking I need to stretch that out as long as possible and more pressure is going to be coming to the promotion and what we're going to do with these songs because I still want those 3 songs to last probably 4, 5, or even 6 months. If you said I've got 8 songs, I might say, okay, I can throw it away a little bit, so maybe I'll do it every 4 weeks instead of every 6 weeks. If you say I've got 12 songs, I might say, hey, why don't we do either one a month for an entire year or maybe one every 3 weeks and do 9 months and then think about what we're going to do towards the end of the year. But you can see we are concertinaing it in or out depending on your strategy. What we don't want to do is we don't want to set ourselves up to fail. And it's the same thing where it gets to the new year. You say, I'm going to go to the gym. Oh, how often are you going to go? I'm going to go every day for 3 hours. Realistically, it gets to day 3 and you go, oh, bit stiff, and then you don't go to the gym, and then it's over. So we have to set ourselves up to succeed and not fail. Now, the one way of doing this is the calendar. I know I bang on about it all of the time, but I want your releases in the calendar on the specific day, and then we work backwards from that, which means, when does it need to be uploaded into Spotify? When does it need to be mixed? When does it need to be mastered? When does it need to be recorded? When does something need to be written? Everything is in the calendar, so you have literally day-by-day check-ins of what you need to do. Don't forget, in the same way as you can run out of songs, you can also run out of steam for songs. If you've got an album that you want to do single after single after single, and you're trying to stretch that album out over 12 months, you're probably going to be bored after 6, or you're probably going to want to go in the studio and record new songs 6 months later. So think forwards and make sure that not only have you got enough to stretch out, but make sure you're not stretching it out too far, because you also want to be creative. You also want to write more songs. You want to record more songs. You want to be excited just the same way as you want your audience to be excited. So here are some general rules that I think will really help you to design your strategy. Number 1, human psychology says people want what they can't have. So therefore, promoting into a song on the whole is much better than promoting after a song, unless you are an artist who says, look, I've got so much coming, I don't have time because there's another one coming. And so therefore, my job is to say, here's more episodic content. If you're not doing that strategy, then a better strategy is to say, hey, I just wrote this. Should I release it? Maybe you say, I just wrote this. What do you think? And people are like, ooh, this is new. People like new stuff. Number 2, anxiety comes in many different ways, especially when you're being creative. So be careful not to swap the anxiety of creating social media and promotion for anxiety of creating music, which can have a much higher level of burnout because it's a much tougher thing to do. And number 3, ensure that you have consistency in your releases over the year. You would be much better off letting your releases breathe and having 4 or 5 or 6 weeks and concentrating on promoting that music and getting the most out of it, unless you have a lot of music to get out. Most importantly, set yourself up to succeed, make sure it's fun, don't burn yourself out, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. It's so easy these days to look at another artist's release strategy or what they're doing and saying, I really like the way they do it, I think I'll do the same thing, when your skill set or even your financial budget or your time might not fit in to what they do. So we have to design something specifically for you, your needs, your targets, your skill set, and your financial budgets. So with that in mind, let me know how many songs you are releasing this year. Are you doing monthly? Are you doing 6 weeks? Are you going for the hardcore Nick D strategy, which is like the hard 75? Let me know in the comments below, because I'm always fascinated to see how different artists are releasing so I can keep tabs on what you're doing. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Good luck, and I'll see you soon.